do.
Call this meeting to order. Will you please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the
United States of America, to the republic
One nation, under God,
indivisible,
and justice for all.
for all.
Always fun to go on through, isn't it? Could I have a roll call, please?
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Juan, can you hear us? Juan, you need to unmute.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Hill,
Yes.
Stark,
Here.
Yes,
Kurt,
yes,
McLaughlin,
Yes.
I have anybody that is on the phone and the computer. Can you please mute your computer audio and only speak through the phone?
Did you all get that direction?
could I make a suggestion? You keep your phone muted unless you need to say something?
That would help.
Yes, it would. Especially when we're taking a vote or something and you want to speak. Okay, I do need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Sharp.
Deb,
Second,
second.
O'Loughlin.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. I don't believe we have any public comment. Anybody else on there? Okay. Then I need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the minutes for the November 9th regular meeting.
So moved.
Motion from Deb, second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next item of motion is for payment. Have a motion by Deb,
Second.
second from Callahan. Any questions? Hearing none, I ask for all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. We're down to public hearing on proposed amendment to the Independence Urban Renewal Area. I need a motion to receive and file the publication of notice of public hearing. Oh, nope, wait a minute.
Sharp.
Wait a minute, I'm on the wrong place. I skipped down. First is hearing on the amend chapter 75, he's setting public hearing. I need a motion to set the public hearing for December 14th, 2020 at 6:30 in the City Hall for a proposed amendment of chapter 75 ATV.
So moved, Kurt.
Motion from Kurt, second by Deb. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No.
Opposed, the same.
No. O'Loughlin.
Okay, so we had enough for past it, okay. Motion is carried.
Just as a suggestion, we're having a lag time here with the audio. I'm gonna have to, all of our votes go to roll call votes so that we can define voting.
Okay. You guys all hear that? We're gonna go from everything from now on, it's gonna be by roll call. Once we have a motion. and a second. So the next thing on the agenda is the urban renewal public hearing. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved, Sharp.
Second, Callahan.
Second, Hill.
I'm getting all kinds of them. As long as Gina's getting somebody's name in there, we're good to go. Do you want to roll call this or do this all in favor? For just this part?
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Laughlin,
No.
Hannah,
Yes.
Okay, so we did, now I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So moved.
moved. Hill?
Okay, I've got a motion from Callahan, second by Hill. Roll call for holding the public hearing.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yeah.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Laughlin,
Is this regarding the Rydell?
No, we are on the,
Yes, I do. Yes.
yes, it is. This is just to hold the hearing, is what you're voting on right now. Was that a yes from you, Mike?
Yes.
Okay,
Hannah,
Yes.
thank you. Motion is carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to proposed amendment, Independence Urban Renewal Area.
This is the plan amendment for the Independence Investment Rydell project. It's already authorized in the plan. This amendment to increase the scope of the development agreement. This is not actually modifying the development agreement, but just the plan itself.
Why didn't we discuss this at the committee of the whole?
This, based on the input that we received from Dorsey, we have to hold the public hearing. This was discussed when we set the public hearing. Talking about the fact that Rydell has more than doubled the size of their investment. Then not to
None of that was
exceed-
brought up. We had no idea that this was coming forward. We had settled on what we agreed to give them. And this, if we were gonna vote on this tonight, then we should have discussed it at committee of the whole in more length. I moved to table it.
This is the public hearing on the plan here. You can table the action itself, the public hearing, the input section.
This is Kurt. If I'm not mistaken, we did discuss this prior. I remember a lengthy discussion on it.
Yes, we did.
At the committee of the whole,
I'd agree with John. I think we've talked about this.
So,
well, I don't recall it at the committee of the whole. I remember we went over our TIF report with Maggie and our level of indebtedness and things like that, but no, nothing specifically related to Rydell. Rydell was a done deal at that point, until now.
well, I will tell you that there was a motion that was made to deny this before we had the public hearing, so I know it was talked about. But again, to keep us on track, this is the public hearing talking about the plan amendment, not the development agreement.
And the only amendment is because Rydell actually invested more than what was in the original thinking.
The
So we
council,
need to amend that amount.
But we don't have to.
you do not have to. The council has made it a practice in the past to do 10% of the development cost for the TIF rebate. We approved the 10% rebate based on their initial plans of a $3 million project. The project exceeded $6 million to the tune of $89,000 a year in taxes. So doing the math, we've gained over $40,000 in additional taxes because of their additional investment. Just simple arithmetic, but this would amend their not to exceed amount from 300,000 to 620,000 over 10 years. And again, this is the step down 90, 80, 70, 60% that is in the development agreement.
So you wouldn't see those taxes for years.
Well, you'd see a portion of it every year, a growing percentage each year, yes,
10%.
that's correct.
That's just the first.
Well, the first year we get 10%, second year we get 20%, et cetera.
But they actually pay the taxes and then we reimburse them
That's
at
correct,
a certain point for whatever the percentage is for that particular year.
that's correct.
But they actually pay the taxes.
3 months.
If I could make a comment here, this would be Hill. I think that they are bringing a lot of money into the community. They're paying sales tax, they're paying property tax. We based it on an estimate of construction. The facility out there next to Highway 20 is a beautiful building and business for people to see when they move into town. And if we want projects like this, I think we need to help them out. And if we're going to be getting a lot more taxes anyway, I think we should be doing the amendment. That's my feeling.
Their sales
Thank
are
you.
through the roof. Their sales are through the roof. They're having phenomenal business out there. So I think it's a good thing for our community.
Okay, we need one person talking at a time. Deb, did you have something you wanted to say?
We gave them tip money on 3 million already.
Because that's what we thought they would invest, but instead they've invested 6 million.
But we don't have to give the tip money another 3.
This is Kurt.
Yes, yes, John?
I wanted to agree with what Bob said. If we're going to stimulate growth in this community, I think it only makes sense that we try and do what incentives we can that we have power to do. And we have to bear in mind, these are taxes we would never, ever have had they not done this. And we're giving a rebate back of a certain amount. I think it's in the community's best interest to do this, to grow our tax base. Thank you.
Anyone else that wanted to say something?
So when we don't have enough money in our budget, we'll increase the property taxes where we could get some money from this 3 million of taxes.
Well, I think the issue that we're really facing here is the suggestion or the of a project do 10% of development cost as part of the rebate. I think it would be fairly disingenuous for us to pull the rug out from under them after they've more than doubled the size of their investment. So I would caution council against doing that. I think we've made the statement and we've made the practice of doing that. There's nothing saying that you have to. There's no requirement that you have to. That is the premise that they are operating on under for the last year.
I'll go back to saying that Angie at the restaurant down here got cheated out of her facade money. We couldn't go back and do anything to help her.
Those are two different projects, two different
They are.
situations, Deb.
They are, but we couldn't go back and help her, but they estimated this at 3 million and we gave them the tip money and now everyone's.
Mayor, this is Bob. Could I make a comment?
Yes, you can.
I think part of what we're dealing here is with ethics and morals, and our moral obligation is to stand by our word. And as John said, these are taxes we would never have if they hadn't built this facility. and they could have spent 3 million and had something that was not what we have out there now. They've gone ahead, they put the money in, they have a beautiful facility, a great business, and I think we have a moral obligation to help them in any way we can, because they could have easily chosen another community. And what's that going to tell other businesses if we take a look at it and say, oh, we don't have to handle that extra $3 million that you put into the construction? I think it's going to be a detriment in the future when we try to talk with other investors. Thank you.
We've already agreed on 300,000, folks.
We also agreed to give them 10% of their investment. And we estimated it to be 3 million. They ended up spending 6 million. They increased that tax base because they invested that. For us to not honor our original plan is sending the wrong message to any other companies that may want to move into independence.
Mayor, this is Kurt. Could I make a comment?
And John?
I would again echo what Bob just stated. And I want you to think back to when Maggie Berger was talking to us last week at our council meeting, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. TIF is a tool that we use to encourage investment in our community. And if we fail to live up to our agreements, people will cease using that vehicle to invest in our community. And I think it's really important that we are supportive of this. And again, I state, these are taxes we would never have had if they hadn't built that building. That's a $6 million investment to our tax base. What little we give back is a pittance compared to what we're going to gain down the road. And we have to look to the future. And if we want to protect the rest of our citizens in town, this is going to be a great help to keeping our tax base as low as we can keep it.
Carl, did you have anything you wanted to say before we close?
No, thank you.
Ron, do you have anything else you want to say before we close?
No, I just echo what Bob and John said. I mean, it's a great investment in our community, and it's a beautiful facility coming into town, and I think it's just all good.
Jen, do you have anything that you would like to say before we close?
I just echo my agreement with Bob and John and Juan.
Okay. Mike, do you have anything else you want to say before we close?
I'm good.
Deb?
I already said it.
Can I ask for a motion?
Now, if you have eyes on the chat, being that this is a public hearing, I want to make sure we don't miss anything that someone might have input on.
The only feedback I have is if you're rustling papers, it makes it hard to hear.
Okay.
Okay. And you didn't have anything that was sent in from anything? Either one of you? Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Motion from Hannah.
Second from Callahan.
Thank you. Motion and second to close the public hearing. We will ask for a roll call.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Thank you. Then we're moving on to, I need a motion to adopt a resolution to approve the urban renewal plan amendment for the Independence Urban Renewal.
This
just
would be
for-
Hill. I'd make that motion.
I hear a second.
Callahan?
Okay. A motion and a second. You have something you want to?
I just wanted to remind you again, this is approving the plan, not the development agreement itself. So this is the urban renewal plan amendment that you're
Okay.
voting on.
You understand what you're gonna be voting on, folks? We do have a motion and a second. I ask for a roll call, please.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay, next is a public hearing. I keep turning my pages here. I'm losing track of where I'm at.
from C.
Letter C, Bonnie.
Okay. So we have another public hearing.
Clarification here, Al.
Yeah.
Now, is this the public hearing for actually changing the TIF rebate from 3 million to 6 million?
Yes, this is the public hearing on the development
Okay.
agreement itself.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
So I first need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of the public hearing.
So moved.
So moved. Second, Hill.
Okay? Motion by Callahan, second by Hill. You want to do a roll call for this?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Hannah,
Second.
second by Callahan. Roll call, please.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carried. We are now in a public hearing in regards to the proposed development agreement with Independence Investment.
Have we received any comments from outside the council tonight on this?
We have not.
I would then simply repeat what I said before, that I think ethically and morally, we have an obligation to stand by the agreement that we put together, and they put in much more than they anticipated, and that helps us. So I think we need to stand by them. Thank you.
Any other comments for public hearing? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral and written comments.
So moved.
So moved. Stark. Second, O'Loughlin.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Motion carried. Are you guys able to hear Hannah when she makes motions or says anything? Or is there still a delay in what you're hearing?
I can hear it's very weak.
Okay. You're gonna have to speak up, Deb, whenever you do make a motion or whatever. Okay. We are down to a motion to approve a resolution approving the amended development agreement with Independence Investments LLC, authorizing tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
I'll make the motion.
This is Kurtz, I'll second.
Okay, motion by Hill, second by Kurt. Roll call, please.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. We are down to resolutions. I'm in the right spot. I need a motion to approve a resolution approving the 2022 tax increment financing indebtedness certification and authorizing the city clerk to submit the indebtedness certification to the county auditor.
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
Second by Kurtz.
Who was the first one? Is that Mike?
Yes.
Okay,
O'Loughlin, correct?
yeah. Roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Before you give them that.
Right.
go ahead, Al. This is their annual appropriation, so this would include anything, including federal obligations that TIF development agreements, rebates, some of those commercial appropriation grants, all of that would be their annual. Rydell might be included for one, for the first year.
$3 million or for the six?
No, but it's just that percentage that I was talking about, a sliding scale, so their first year, they would only get, I think it is
Kind of the 89,000, so, it does, right now, it doesn't have anything to do with, what you did with the development agreement is you raised it from the 300 to 600. This is the first installment. You've not hit that, not to exceed amount either way.
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried.
This is Kurtz. Can I make a comment?
Yes, Ken.
We need to make sure we're muting things. We got a dog in the background and it's not one of my puppies.
You got more than one puppy?
Yes, we're back to 2 again.
Must have done it. Okay, we are down to a motion to approve the 2020 annual urban renewal report and authorize the city clerk to submit the report to the Department of Management by December 1st, 2020.
So moved by
So moved.
Callahan.
Second by O'Loughlin.
Okay, I have a motion by Callahan, second by O'Loughlin. I need a roll call, please.
Star,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried.
Hey, Mike, could you let Kyle come in the garage so he doesn't have to yell so far?
Come on, Bob. You're pushing it there.
Sorry.
Okay, moving on. I need a motion to approve a resolution accepting the work covering the First Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project.
This is Kurt, so moved.
Okay, I have a
O'Loughlin,
motion. Deb's gonna have to speak up because she's making some of these motions and you guys are overriding her. As long as Gina gets a couple of names, we're good to go. Roll call, please.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Stark,
I'm out of the cold now. I hope you can hear me. Yes.
We did hear you. Thank you, Carl. Motion is
You know,
carried.
you owe me, Carl.
Thank you, Bob.
Did we vote for 6?
Yes.
2 motions ago. We are down to, under resolutions, D is the mask mandate.
There is a policy that is on your agenda that addresses the mask mandate for city-owned facilities. There's been a fair amount of discussion as to what this looks like or should look like. And I think the one area that Mr. Beatty has expressed concern over is the River's Edge and Civic Center and activities that happen by patrons in those facilities relating to exercise. I will tell you that we have talked with the city attorney's office a couple of times today about this. If somebody is exercising and they're more than 6 feet away from others, if they're socially distanced, they are not required by the governor's proclamation to wear a mask. It is only on their entering and leaving, or if they cannot maintain a 6-foot social distance, that they are required to have the mask per the governor's proclamation. And that's something that I would strongly urge the council to look at. I think it's legitimate to allow people to exercise without the mask on. It's not reasonable to have a mask on when they're exercising, as long as they're maintaining that social distance. And again, that's consistent with the governor's proclamation. Mr. Leidinger is on the line here as well. We do have a resolution to approve this that adds some extra encouragement to the mask mandate beyond city buildings. He was trying to, I think, address all of the council's concerns, but please take a look at that resolution before you approve it. There are 2 sections to it, and I want to make sure that everybody's aware of that and is following all of that resolution if you want to go that far. And with Steve being with us, I'd let him weigh in on that as well.
Al, before we go to the resolution, this is Hill. Could I make a comment about the policy that you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
The governor's mandate is clear as mud, which I think she probably did that on purpose. But I think there are 2 different types of things we're dealing with at Civic Center. First of all, you have things like simply a pickup game where you get 3 or 4 people that decide they want to play a basketball game. And I think that's covered, that probably the mask would be required for that. But I do think we're doing some educational things here by holding our clinics for our, like, for example, our 1st and 2nd grade kids, our 3rd and 4th grade kids. And I guess I would like to see us be a little to allow that, because I think that falls under a little bit on what she's talking about up there with the high school, college, and professional activities. The coaches and everybody would need to wear masks, but I think if we're having those kid activities, I sure hate to see us keep all those kids out of the Civic Center. You can stand there and shoot baskets if you want to as an adult or high school person, as long as nobody's around you. But for the younger kids, for the educational part of it, I have a little problem making those kids wear masks while they go through drills and have their possible league games. My thoughts on it. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
I would just chime in. I talked with Holly a little bit after talking to Al today, who drafted the policy. I think she talked to Al as well. And what we gather from the governor's proclamation is basically by excluding interscholastic, high school, collegiate, and professional basketball, basically saying that lower levels are not to be engaged in.
Right.
That's what I gather from it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So any youth sports or clinics or events are canceled currently for anyone under the high school age. All I'm looking at currently, and we won't go back to youth sports until it's approved, but we're looking at the average person that comes in to use the treadmill, to shoot baskets, to sit in the sauna, to use exercise equipment. I don't think it's enforceable for us, and I don't think it should be warranted. And it's pretty clear. A lot of things are clear as mud in the proclamation, but it's pretty clear that anyone engaging in physical exercise is you don't have to wear a mask. I mean, it's under Section 5, Article E, if you look at the proclamation on 11/16. So that part I think getting to the gym or getting to the weight room is more than fine. We've already put a mask mandate in for all of our staff to protect them. We've had a pretty good success rate as far as that goes. My concern is I don't think people should have to try to exercise with a mask on. All of our equipment is pushed to 6 foot apart as of May when we reopened. We haven't changed that. So I think at this point we're probably pretty good. And it does say in the proclamation, like I said, under Section 5, Article E, that you don't have to wear a mask if you're engaging in physical exercise. We would just like the policy to kind of stay the same, or at least mirror the proclamation set by the governor.
How about if somebody's spotting, Bobby?
Yeah, I would say that if you did a spotter, you would break that 6 foot. But you also could have a situation, Mike, where two sons are in there together. They're from the same household. They're not required by me or anyone else socially distance if they live in the same household. So, and I don't think you want 15 and 16-year-olds trying to make adults wear masks while they're exercising. I just don't think you have any enforceability of this.
At your facility?
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to enforce that.
That's surprising. I would think you could just tell them they need to leave if they can't follow the rules.
Yeah, I'm just saying during the day you have adults there, Mike, but when you have a 15-year-old girl trying to run the front desk, I don't think that's exactly fair to them.
No, you're right.
And I would just point out, we don't make policy. Legally, you could be more restrictive than the governor's proclamation. It's property the city owns. It's not the city passing legislation and going out there and dictating what others do on private property. It's the city dictating what it does on its own property. And we could also, if it was the council's pleasure, any motion or the resolution could be adopted with instructions to change the policy to mirror the governor's proclamation with respect to activities at the rec center. So those are the two, I guess, the two extremes of your options that you have with respect to rec activities.
Yeah, and I would agree that you can probably go stricter, but I also will tell you that they don't pay to go to City Hall typically. They're paying a membership, they're paying a fee to use those facilities. So to be more restrictive you might impinge on some of that as well. You're not paying to go to City Hall necessarily to get what you need done there. So I think each building's a little bit different, and I just don't think that addresses our buildings very well.
This is Kurt. Can I make a comment?
Yes, John?
I think if we look at the governor's proclamation and try and interpret what they're saying, we need to give our facilities, whether it's River's Edge or the Falcon Center, some latitude to interpret the ruling based on the users that are out there. And I don't see anything wrong with them maybe making a suggestion to somebody that needs to social distance more or whatever it is. I would hate to see us get so restrictive that people are reluctant to use the facilities completely. I don't think the intent of what the proclamation was.
Can I make a comment?
That's what my comment is.
Can I make a comment? I guess in my opinion, the governor's proclamation should be enough. I don't think we should go above and beyond that. She said 6 feet apart inside. Bobby already has it 6 feet apart. I think we get into a whole mess of trying to regulate and manage that. And I think the governor's probably gone far enough on that. And I don't know if we need to go above and beyond that.
This is Bob. Could I ask a question, Al?
Yeah.
We've got two documents here. We've got the City of Independence policy for working and doing business on site. Is that something that you can make a change to reflect the governor's proclamation, or are we voting on both of these documents?
No,
go ahead, Steve.
The way this is set up is that if you take a look at that resolution, section 1 would be recommendations with respect to mask in public, nothing enforceable. Section 2 is adoption of the separate policy. So you could, someone could move to adopt the resolution amended to exclude section 1, for example. They could move to adopt the resolution provided the policy is amended to mirror the governor's proclamation with respect to activities at indoor rec centers. If there are other concerns, I can help craft make suggestions for amendments to a motion to approve the resolution with respect to those as well.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
So is there anybody that wants to make a motion in regards to the resolution?
This is Kurt. I have one more question. There is no end date to this. Is this something that we'll have to act on to end it when and if we ever get to that point?
Yes, I would see that being the case. We could just simply do a a resolution to rescind this at some point in the future when it's no longer relevant, which will hopefully be sooner than never.
But we'll be back into 21, at least.
There are two options that you have pertaining to that, or two philosophies. One is to adopt a policy with the idea that when it changes, the council has to take affirmative action or deliberately change it, rescind it, as city attorney stated, or you can add a date that this automatically ends. The problem with putting a date on there that automatically ends, we didn't think that we would still be in a pandemic in March when we started this. Much less, here we are 9 months later, or 8 months later, still dealing with a lot of the same issues. So it's a guessing game either way. In this case, it puts it into effect until council decides that the pandemic has ended and it's time to go back to whatever the new normal is.
Is there anything that says that we can't just have it end when the proclamation from the governor ends? So she, let's say to January 2nd as an example, and then she ends it at that time, then it's concurrent with that.
I think the only, I mean, I could see adding a section 4, for example, that states it'll terminate upon the governor's termination of the public emergency. The concern there is, I mean, how many proclamations have we had to date with amendments and whatnot? So I see this more of a phasing out, and upon what action, upon what future proclamation the city would want this to phase out, I don't know.
That's why I wonder if it wouldn't just be harder to have at least the record mirror that proclamation. So when some of those proclamations ease, then we certainly can step in and amend. Currently we're at 15 for a rental or a birthday party. If she bumps that to 30 eventually, then we can move with it, rather than amending little parts of this policy, the city policy constantly. Those things amend when they amend them.
Well, I think some of the concern that some council members might be feeling or have expressed is that the governor might not be going far enough for this community.
That's my feeling.
I would agree with Mike. I think we just do our own ordinance, and I just don't think the governor, she just is dragging her feet as far as I'm concerned. And if she doesn't pick up the pace, I'm afraid we're going to be back where we were in February and March and April, but that's my feeling.
In our community?
We're beyond that now. It's gone down and we're still at 21.3% positivity rate for the state. That's horrible.
I was thinking
MHI is exploding out there now, despite all the mask wearing and all the restrictions. It's just.
So they wear masks out there, Mike, and it's exploding?
Yeah. There was just 5 more today.
It seems to me when we first started talking about mandating for masks, that we were wanting to protect our employees, city employees, and our buildings and stuff. So I think when you make your motion, we need it to in that mindset, not worrying about what the governor does for everything else, because we pretty much have to follow that because she's the governor. But we need something to direct our city employees, what they should do and shouldn't do in order to protect them, in order to try to keep our people working instead of having our staff levels go down where everybody's got to be in quarantine and such. So,
Mayor, I would like to make the motion we adopt the resolution 2020 with the amendment that it reflects the section for fitness centers, fitness center, health clubs, health spa, gyms that is stated in the governor's proclamation.
Okay. Got all that, Gina? Do I hear a second to Bob's motion?
This is Kurtz, I'd second that.
Okay.
Is that with no expiration date?
That's correct.
For clarification, can we clarify exactly what we're voting on here?
So the policy that you have on your agenda, and Bob, did you want to adopt the resolution as presented?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
the resolution as presented, except adding the section in part 2 or section 2, the wording for fitness centers that's in the governor's proclamation.
So that's subset A, fitness centers with sub 2 and sub 3 underneath her proclamation.
Is this only in regard to city and city property?
Mandate is for city-owned facilities to include specific language from the governor's proclamation for fitness centers, dealing with social distancing, group activities, and other social distancing, hygiene, and public health measures. The resolution also addresses an encouragement for the public use of masks. It does not mandate it, it simply encourages.
Encouraging in city property or out in public?
City property.
Now, I want to clarify. The resolution, section 1 of the resolution is encouraging the use of face mask in in public settings, period. City or otherwise, just encouraging residents to wear masks when they go out, when they patronize local businesses, recommends local businesses require the use of masks. But there's no enforcement mechanism, and it's nothing more than a suggestion and a recommendation, basically to, you know, show that the you know, council's doing something, promoting masks. You don't have to adopt section 1 the way it's written. You know, you could omit section 1. I think it's been proposed to approve the resolution as written. That would include section 1, so it would include the recommendation for the public in general, as well as section 2, adopting that policy, provided that the policy is adopted as discussed with respect to rec centers to mirror the governor's proclamation. And give a little more leeway there for recreational activities that are allowed by the governor.
This is Hayward. I have a couple
What
questions.
Voting on?
This is Kurtz. Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I think with the current state of our pandemic in our community and around the state of Iowa, it would be good to keep the language in there about encouraging the use of masks and go with the resolution as we have it written. Thank you.
That's what city buildings, too, John?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Deb, I didn't hear you.
To recommend a word, but not require it.
No,
No, I think the requirement is there for city buildings. I'm saying recommending for around the city.
Public.
This is Hayward. I have a couple questions.
This is who?
Blake Hayward has a couple questions.
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
I hear, who am I talking to?
Blake.
Blake? Oh, okay. Go for it,
One question regarding using face masks during public transportation. Our fire trucks can carry up to 6 personnel at a time. I know back in March and April when we had the city on the first lockdown, we had kind of made some arrangements as far as firefighters. We have 2 seats in the back of our trucks that face the opposite direction from the driver and the passenger. One of the concerns with requiring wearing masks while driving is some of our people that drive have eyeglasses, and I find it extremely hard to enforce someone to wear a mask and drive an emergency vehicle. I feel like that puts the public in danger as well as our personnel in danger. We did make some arrangements before, limiting the number of people in the trucks and trying to use more trucks for emergency events. But my concern with the policy being face masks required when in transportation with people in the same vehicle, our trucks are big enough that we could probably have 6 foot. I just want to, clarify and make sure that we're not going to require, in the matter of being dangerous, require people to be wearing face masks if they have glasses that could potentially put them or the public at risk.
Blake, I use a face mask and glasses at work. I mean, I guess I don't understand what's the problem.
I don't have a problem with them wearing. Right now, currently, we follow the public safety's, the public health's guidelines. Anytime we're on a fire scene, that we're wearing masks once we arrive on scene. My concern is when we're driving to a scene, the possibility of having glasses fog up or something like that when they're wearing a mask, and also trying to operate their emergency equipment.
You mean driving the truck?
Correct.
Well, I don't know why you couldn't, but I guess if that's, I don't understand it. I mean, whatever.
Blake, your concern is mainly for the driver with mandatory of them have a mask if they're in a vehicle with more than one other person?
Correct. The resolution states that when using public transportation, public car service, or carpooling with persons outside the person's immediate family, they would be required to wear a face mask. My concern is the operator of that fire truck and his glasses may or may not be fogging up. That my concern is that we would be putting the public and or our own personnel in danger if something would happen, fog up, whatever the case is. I don't personally have glasses, but I've talked to several people wearing masks with glasses that have fogged up just having a conversation standing in a hallway. I would feel that we'd be putting the public and our own personnel in jeopardy if we were required wearing face masks while operating a emergency vehicle.
So just exempt the driver?
Currently, the way we do it is we don't put on our masks until we get on scene, and we have 2 personnel facing forward and 2 personnel facing backwards.
So if we accept the driver, that solves the problem then, so that they're not fogged up, right?
Absolutely. I just want to, that's one of my concerns on the fire side of things.
About the shield, Blake.
This is Chief Newton. Can I speak up here too?
Who?
Chief Newton.
Okay.
I'm agreeing with Blake 100% on this, that we cannot restrict our drivers. And right now, there's only going to be 1 or 2 that might be an issue. If they're the only ones in that vehicle that are not wearing a mask while they're driving, I think that's a safety feature that if you require them to wear a mask, and it's on recording right now, it's all documented. If they get in an accident and they state that they got in an accident because they couldn't see because their glasses fogged up, who's going to write that check?
Have you ever tried, has your drivers ever tried using shields instead of the mask?
Okay, have you listened to all of your CDCs and everything else that tell you that the plastic face shield without a mask is ineffective?
I haven't heard that.
Then you haven't listened very closely.
We get
I'd have-
CDC meetings.
I'd have to agree with Dick. I've read that in several articles that that's why schools have gone to using both the shield and the mask, because the mask by itself is not as effective as a mask without a shield. I would not have trouble with just the driver being exempt from the mask. But
All right.
everyone else, I think, should be wearing a mask inside the vehicle.
All right, so here's my question as the attorney who would be drafting this revision. Do we have police officers that are driving vehicles together, like partner? Do we have maintenance crews that have drivers driving vehicles together? So the question is then, if you elect to do an exception here, how broadly are you going to do it? Are you going to do it just for drivers who wear glasses? Are you going to do it just for fire? Are you going to do it for public safety but not maintenance? Or are you going to do it for everyone driving a vehicle with glasses? You can see where I'm going with
an
this.
emergency situation. I mean, honestly, going from
Or do we need to go have them get contacts?
Common sense needs to be used in here somewhere. If I'm in a vehicle, I want to make sure the driver can see what he's doing.
Well, they're not getting a good seal on their mask if their glasses are fogging up. I'm an expert with glasses to know, you know, they do fog up, but you haven't got a good seal, that's why you're doing it.
This goes back to what I mentioned earlier. How far are we going to go here? Beyond what's already out there.
And a lot of our times, as far as fire response, we're not spending a lot of time in the vehicle. I know the CDC is requiring 6 foot distance or 15, or for consecutive or cumulative 15-minute exposure. We're not in the truck longer than 5-10 minutes tops if we're responding mutual aid. And we've taken the steps to limit the number of personnel in a vehicle, but it's not physically possible for us to have 26 vehicles show up on a fire scene and during an emergency. That's just not doing the public any justice either.
Blake. I will tell you that we have not had an issue with the mask requirement in Public Works or police up to this point. Last spring, we did have a mask mandate if there was more than one person in the car, or limited them to one person in the vehicle at a time. And we were able to make that work. Fire, I understand the difference, and I don't want to take away from the significance of that, but to Mr. Leininger's issue with the other departments, we can chase this rabbit a long way, and I don't think that's meeting the intent of what we're trying to accomplish. I think the goal here is to keep our personnel safe, keep our employees safe, so they can continue to provide the service.
Hey, Al, I have a question. So, Blake, how often do you have more than one firefighter in a vehicle?
Great call.
Once or twice a week.
But I mean, that's for an emergency situation, correct?
Correct. We have suspended all training for the rest of the year due to the governor's proclamation.
Okay, so if we simplify this down and just go in emergency situations, the driver of a fire truck or emergency vehicle is not required to wear a face mask, then that eliminates Public Works, that eliminates sewer department, that eliminates police department, unless they're in an emergency situation going lights and sirens to a call.
And that's fine with us. We're just going off of what public health suggested to us. Anytime we deal with the public, they have suggested that we wear a mask. We responded to an incident the other day dealing with the public. We all had masks on. We have a COVID protocol that we follow, and it seems to work. We have, out of a department of 26, we've only had one positive COVID case, and they did not contract it from fire-related activities.
Correct. I mean, that's what we do at the police department. If we're dealing with the public, we have our mask on. But in this situation, I mean, your driver, and I understand because I have officers that have glasses as well. If we change this to where it says that anytime in an emergency situation or in pursuit of a call, the driver of the vehicle is not required to wear a face mask, that should cover the situation that we're talking about now.
Correct. I just don't want our personnel to hesitate to respond to an incident, not knowing exactly what the policy is or the repercussions of it.
Right.
Well, I can certainly draft that. Now it's a policy discussion for the council. I know the concern of police and fire.
Do we want to wait 2 more weeks though before we can deal with this and put anything in?
I think the question is whether we wait 2 more weeks. I think the
Yeah.
council at this point, if you're comfortable, can adopt the policy as stated if the city attorney is comfortable with the understanding of what it is we're adopting.
It's my understanding that someone has to make a further amendment to Bob's amendment with respect to the emergency situation. But what I understand the discussion to have been would be to adopt this resolution as is, with section 1 being the public recommendation, section 2 being the policy for city facilities and employees, with the caveat that the policy be adopted to reflect the mirror the governor's proclamation with respect to recreational facilities owned by the city, and to exclude from the requirement that employees wear masks when there are more than one employee in a vehicle, to exclude emergency responders during a response situation. Drivers in an emergency vehicle during a emergency situation.
Since Bob, you made that original, does that sound good to make that motion and having all that included?
I would be fine with that. I think it's been good discussion, and I think that both of those are good things that we can bend a little bit for a bigger safety issue.
Okay, John, as a second, are you okay with that also?
I am good with that, and I would make them, I guess, encourage the motion following the city attorney's recommendation.
Okay. So we all know what it is you're voting on. Since we do have a motion and a second, and it's been clarified by the attorney, does everybody know and you're comfortable in order for us to do a roll call?
And we're only recommending in section 1, just recommending citizens wear masks outside of city buildings.
Correct. That's how it's drafted. On my recommendation, I did not suggest doing more than that. Having looked at the situation around the state, the governor's position on things, and the Secretary of State, yes, it's my recommendation that you only recommend, but that having the city leaders, at least recommend that may have some weight and value to the extent you want to do that.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. I think I'm ready. I'm going to call for a roll call. You all should understand exactly what you're voting on and should be comfortable with this. We don't want to let this go another 2 weeks before we address it again. So roll call, please.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Kurth,
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. I'm glad glad we did get that done tonight. Okay, moving on to other business. We need a motion on an organizational structure modification. If you guys don't understand that, I'll let Al explain that to you.
After going through interviews for the street superintendent position, the committee decided that Mr. Sheretz would be the strongest candidate based on our ability to merge his current functions with the street superintendent's position. In order to make that happen, the council will have to authorize us to modify the organizational structure to put him in charge of the street department as well as building and code enforcement. And it also provides for the creation of a foreman position within the street department to help with the day-to-day.
I would recommend that I would move that we make the foreman enhance that by a $5,000 increase per year. They've got a lot of responsibility within the structure of working together and keeping people moving, keeping people working positively. I don't think a $5,000, that would be like $2 and something an hour more per hour. So my recommendation to enhance it to a total of not to exceed $5,000 per year.
The dollar an hour does translate into $2,080.
Yes.
Annually, just for perspective. The council is in charge of setting the compensation, so that is strictly up to the council.
This is Bob. I would agree with Mike. I don't think $1 an hour is incentive. You're probably going to have trouble getting somebody take that position without responsibility. I'd go along with his thought that we add $250 per hour, which I think comes up to about that 5,000. Am I right?
Yep, real close.
Is there any chance that whoever takes it would end up making more than the department head?
It depends on the amount of overtime. It is a possibility that they could earn more than the department head if there was a significant amount of overtime. With the average amount of overtime, no.
But that's always been the potential with those positions.
Right, it is an hourly position, and we are not proposing to change it from an hourly position for the foreman.
Who determines who gets the overtime? How is that regulated? Is that through a union situation or?
It depends on who's on call or who takes the call. They try and rotate that between the staff. And generally works out to be, at the end of the year, it's pretty equal.
Okay. So who is are you making an official motion to this degree, Mike? As far as the rest of that?
I make a motion that we enhance the foreman's pay by $2.50 per hour instead of $1 per hour.
What about the organizational part of it as far as making the department head?
Everything else, the organizational structure, combining the two positions would be the same. The only thing I wish to modify is the hourly rate at which the foreman is compensated.
Okay. So
I would second that.
Okay.
Moving Todd Sheretz up to a different position, right?
I'm combining Todd Sheretz with the street superintendent. Correct.
So he's talking about the wage increase, he's talking about Todd?
No.
No.
Todd would go from 52,000 to 65,000, and this would increase the foreman. We're creating a foreman position under Todd, and that's what they're talking about, raise the enhancing. No, we're not hiring a new person. It's taking somebody who's already working here and putting them in a foreman position.
So we already have a person for that position, or?
Well, we have to post that through the union, but, we are not asking you to add another position to it, but open it up to the people that we already have here.
With increasing this hourly wage and the fact that this person can get overtime, is there any chance this person would end up making more than other department heads from other areas?
Well, that's gonna be up to the head of the department to make sure that overtime's getting shared equally.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't want to say it's not possible, because clearly it's possible. It's just, it's hard for me to give you an absolute on that, not knowing, for example, how much snow do we have, how many water main breaks do we have, what else happens, so.
Okay.
On average, no, it should be fine.
Okay, we do have a motion, and did we get a second on that with Bob?
Yes. One question here, Al. With Todd's position as the building inspector and code enforcement, what percentage of time have you guys talked about they're going to split between streets and the code enforcement, and because we've gotten a very good job done on code enforcement and cleaning things up. I hate to have that take a total back seat.
Mr. Sheriff and I have had that conversation already. I don't have a percentage for you today. It's something we do have to work out yet this week, but the priority has to stay with the code and building side, because that has come a long ways in the last 2 years, and we're not willing to sacrifice that. And so Todd and I hear your concern.
Okay, thank you.
I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Barth,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
Thank you, guys.
Next on the agenda is a compost request. Motion to approve equipment rental, manpower, and loading approximately 15 loads of compost. Joe Schmidt.
This is, our compost generally does not leave city limits. Our permit with DNR does not allow us to charge for compost. Mr. Schmitz would like to use it for his hog operation. We have ample supply for as much as what he wants to meet his demands, and still have more than enough. But this would set a $90 an hour rate for our manpower and equipment to load him for the approximately 15 loads that he's looking for. These are dump trucks, not semi-trailers.
Any chance you take 30 loads?
I was just wondering, is this per year or per month or what?
This is what he had asked for, was the 15 loads. If you're willing to allow it, it's something that, again, because it's leaving limits, it does really require council authorization for us to do that.
This is Kurt. Can I make a comment?
Yes.
In looking at the amount of compost we have down there, I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to get rid of some of it.
Yes.
No-brainer.
To make some money without violating our rules that we can't sell compost.
Yes.
So I would ask for a motion.
I would make a motion that we accept this offer. O'Loughlin.
Sharp, second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to accept the approval. Roll call, please.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Bob, you still on there? Did we lose him?
He says yes.
Okay.
okay. Star,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
Oh,
Last item on the agenda is a motion to approve a cooperative agreement with the Iowa DOT for the Iowa 150 primary road project.
This is the funding agreement to authorize our relationship with the DOT for Highway 150. And I would strongly urge you to approve it. It's not to exceed $3.8 million of DOT funding for the project, for reconstruction.
This is Kurtz. I'd make the motion.
O'Loughlin, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve a cooperative agreement with Iowa DOT. Roll call, please.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
yes.
Star,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. We are down to reports. I don't think did you have any committee meetings today? I didn't think so. I'm sure you all understood or heard that we did have to cancel our Jingle on Main because of the orders from the governor. But we are still going to be lighting the tree that's in Bremers Park at 5:30 on Friday, December 4th, which would have been the night of our Jingle on Main. But we won't be closing any streets or anything. Also, the Chamber of Commerce is going to be on Sunday, starting at 10 o'clock, doing some decorating. They're going to be decorating the VFW Park, or the Veterans Park down there by the mill, so that people can drive through there and at least get some Christmassy ideas. They also will have something up at the park across from Bill's Freedom Park, so people could go there and do family pictures or photo ops and that type of thing. And they also will be doing some decorations at the park across from the bank, at the bank corner. They're doing that on Sunday, 29th. I'm sure they could use all the hands possible, so they'll meet at the chamber office to kind of decide who's going where. So if anybody's available, would like to help out with that, we would be nice to have extra hands on deck. I don't know that I have anything else. Does any council members have anything they would like to share for reports tonight?
This is Kurtz. I've got something.
Yes, John.
The Upper Wapsie watershed meeting will be tomorrow via Zoom, and we'll be talking about the ongoing efforts that we've got going on in the watershed. Al, you and I had a conversation earlier about possible funding contribution to that. Is that something we can bring up at this point or not?
We can. We are going to start our budget discussion at the Committee of the Whole on December 7th, and we will have a budget line item in there for that as well.
What I'm referring to is to continue the efforts that we have. We have just about exhausted our government funding for the Upper Wapsie watershed, and in order to continue on with our efforts, they're asking that the member communities and counties contribute something to the watershed, and we're going to try and stimulate some interest in that so we can maintain our coordinator to keep the efforts going that we've got going on as we speak. So that's something that we'll be discussing at the watershed meeting tomorrow. So just to kind of keep you updated on it.
And we will be putting a line item in the budget for that, for council consideration, on behalf of the city of Independence.
That help you for your report tomorrow for your meeting?
Yes, it will. And when you figure that the Watson-Pennington River has such an impact on our community and the overall aesthetics for this community, this is something that really means a lot, and we appreciate everything the city can do.
Thank you, John, for that report. Thank you. Any other council members have any other topics or things they want to discuss? Department heads? There's still some on the phone?
I've
Any
got a
other
couple
department
things
heads
I'd like to,
anything?
I've got a couple things, Chief Newton here, that I would like to talk about if possible.
Okay, you
At
got
our
the
last,
floor.
at our last meeting, we as a department brought on 4 new members. One we brought back on, Taylor Simmons. He was on for a long time. I'm sure you all know him. Due to his job, he switched jobs and stuff. He needed to get off. Didn't have time, but his new job has allowed him more time, freedom. So he's able to get back on. So he's going to bring a lot of good stuff back to the department. We also brought on Richard Bowman. He used to be on a couple other departments. He was on Jessup for a while and also on Hudson. He's moved to our community, so we're going to take advantage of his previous experience with these other departments and brought him on. And then we've got a couple new ones that we'll have to do some training on, but I think they're going to be a good asset too. And one is Nathan Close, and the other one is Joshua Saris. So I think we got some good candidates that we just brought on. So we're looking forward to how much they're going to be helping us. So that's going to be a good thing. Also, I wanted to just kind of throw out there with heating time frame coming on with furnaces and stuff, that remind everybody to keep an eye on their CO detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. If it's recommended, they're replaced every 5 years. So if it's been a while, you might want to take a look at that. And if you haven't got one and you're going to get one, I recommend going with a digital readout. That way, so that if you don't have enough carbon monoxide to alarm your system, but you still could have enough carbon monoxide to cause health issues. If you got a digital readout, it'll show you what those readings are. So if you've got any readings at all, then you know you got a problem. So just kind of want to throw that out there. Let me get something for people to think about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dick.
Dustin, do you have anything?
No, not tonight.
Okay.
Oh, hey, Dustin, I have a
Yeah.
question. On Facebook, there was something about a scam going around of people getting emails about tickets and the cameras, and maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Oh, as of right now, there are a lot of scams going around. Unfortunately, it's that time of the year again. The cameras currently are not operational. In the first month, there'll be warnings anyhow, so they won't be getting anything at this time. But if there's any questions or anybody has any concerns that something might be a scam of somebody calling them, please get a hold of us. We can help you determine if it's realistic or not.
Thank you.
Yep.
You don't actually call somebody, if you catch anybody on those cameras when they are functional, you won't be actually calling them with that, will you? Won't you be sending out a bill?
Yeah, no, it'll be sent to them in a letter. It will not be a phone call or anything of that nature.
So if they start getting phone calls about owing money or something like that, that's totally a scam and they need to maybe take numbers and report it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other council members? Al, Gina, how's our audit going?
Our audit started last week. A little bit to our surprise, we've had no in-person contact with the auditors, and almost all of it has been completely by email. We're still working on it this week as well.
Okay. Other than slowing everything down because of the change, it's going okay?
We'll report back.
Too soon to report that part, huh? Al, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, we're learning how to do virtual audits, I guess.
A whole new ballgame.
I will tell you that our legislative meeting for November 3rd, we are not merging or joining together with Delaware County and Manchester because of the governor's proclamation. We will meet next Monday virtually with Chad Ingalls and Craig Johnson. The only question I have is there any reason you want to meet at 6 instead of 6:30? But we are meeting, both have agreed to meet next Monday evening virtually.
Either time works for me.
Okay. I'll send
This
out
is
a-
John. I'd say either time would work for me, but I just want to know what time.
Right. I'll send out an email with a link through Ring Central, just like we are tonight, for the council and for the legislators. And they were both very disappointed not to meet in person, but they understand and they're anxious to meet.
Okay. If there's no other reports from council members, I
Report on our counts that we did out.
do what?
On Friday's weekly update, I did include a spreadsheet showing the count, 3 different times a day, 15-minute intervals at all 4 intersections. I will tell you that it was a very busy count. Those of you that did the counting, and I know you felt it as well, but pretty incredible count when you take a look at what the numbers were.
So it looks like maybe get something done.
Well, I don't, too early to tell. They're putting it into the mix, and we'll find out. As much as I know that it's busy out there, I was really surprised. We had some 15-minute intervals that were in excess of 150 or 200 cars in that 15 minutes.
Wow.
So there's a lot of volume traffic out there. And I want to say thank you. I know several council people and staff helped out, and we very much appreciate it. The piece that you have to keep in mind is, you know, we invested somewhere between 25 and 35 hours of staff time and your time to do this. If they had to come out and do it as part of the engineering agreement, we get a total of 100 hours. That could be as much as a third of our entire TEEP grant put into traffic count. And so we've really expanded our ability for the engineering side by 30%. So thank you for that, and I know it'll make a difference.
I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Sharp, so moved.
Deb, second. This one, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Aye.